Okay, I would like to talk about of a certain view on how I experience nature. How I experience nature, the person communicating to you now. How does this person experience nature? So, if I were to begin, I will tell you that I would appreciate the changes in my view of nature that have happened over the years. For example, when I was young, I wasn't that close to nature. I didn't like nature that much. Um, as I got older, it was still nice. I liked the field grass of the school field. That was very natural. For example, I liked and then I began the next year. I went back to um, I went back to Iran, and when I went to Iran, it was a very nice place. I went to all some nature scenes there that were very nice, right? But still, at this point, I'm not into nature that much. My family decides to come back to Canada, so that's it. So now in Canada, I did experience some very beautiful scenery. And once you perceive the vastness of a beautiful natural scene, you have more respect for nature. People need to work in having more respect for nature. And the reason you have respect is because of the most amazing things nature has done. And you will go literally enjoy the trees, enjoy how life maintains itself, how other life maintains itself. Therefore, the way I experience nature pretty much is I understand what it means to me, and it has a lot of value. If I was in the city and there was a lot of noise and I was very disturbed and I was caught among all these games, I would stop those games and go to nature for a second to think. If I was in the worst trouble that my mind could visualize at a certain period of my life, I will literally straight up go to nature. I will literally go sit among the trees, sit among that silence, and really think about what I'm doing. Nature is pretty much for me one of the cleanest spaces that I may walk in. When I am around trees and the silence and that the nature simply that is manifest, I how do I say it? It's as if I filter all the negative energies or any other thing that has been attached to me. For me, an experience with nature is like a very multi-bodied cleansing. And therefore, I understand the importance of my emotions and how they're affecting my thought process, or how my thought process is affecting my emotions. I become aware of my mind so I can maintain it. Therefore, an individual who bonds with nature and becomes comfortable with that silence realizes that nature is extremely fascinating, and therefore your vision can really expand. You need to understand that back in the day when silence and solitude is really the place where you can get rid of the unwanted noise in your life. To be comfortable with your silence really changes your viewpoint of nature, and it brings you, I feel, closer to how I'm perceiving that it is a very beautiful connection. It is as if you were born from your mother and you had that relationship with your family and whatever, but at the same time you look at the nature of existence that's also alive with you right now, and you really understand another sense of union. Nature is another union of what you are now with what you will be. It is a very brilliant metaphor. It is a very bright metaphor. Because once you become alone with plants for a while, not plants, I mean with nature, the trees, you literally start acknowledging trees and every other thing. You actually feel it. You don't need scientists or people to tell you that plants are alive. You can actually feel their life. You can feel that energy. And therefore, when you feel the energy, in other words, for example, if I am speaking in the park, I know I am no longer just speaking to, for example, this phone. I'm speaking to nature as well. Or if I was speaking among friends, I wouldn't just be speaking to friends. I would be speaking to everything, the moment, pretty much. I am very respectful for my existence, the moment, regardless of the label I give it. And the reason that's I find a very good thing for someone to do is to, before appreciating anything, appreciate the fact that you're aware of yourself existentially, right? Now and then connect that, based on this context, to nature, and find what relationship you have for nature. Your respect for nature will change, and it's fine, let it change. Some of the best values that your grandfather told your father to tell you, some of the best examples of that come from nature. Literally go into a forest. Literally go into that connected world with everything. Guys, pay attention to your feeling. I mean, when you really become aware of the intelligence of how you feel about things, you open to your, how would I say it, to your greater realm of experience. In other words, begin observing nature and appreciating what it has been communicating to everything. The trees are wise because trees live much longer than us, and they are more aware of human interaction. For example, when you go by a tree that is, for example, 1,000 years old or whatever, you can literally feel other human beings from other generations having been there and perceiving this object. So literally, when you go up to trees, in my experience, sometimes I randomly go touch a tree, just with my, and not with both hands hugging. I just randomly go and hold on to a tree, just touch it. And I noticed that when you become aware of your intuitive sense of knowing, that's a very energetic experience. It's literally like you are putting your hand on something that has been absorbing the sun all day. You know what I mean? And you just put your hand on that and you realize it has a vibrance, it has an energy that is very cleansing for man's body and mind. So follow that and know that the beauty of nature is it is infinite change, and your experience of that really opens up your ears. Trust me, guys, a lot of our problems is because we're listening to the wrong stuff. So when you stop listening to the wrong stuff, I mean what's being presented in media or what's being fucking played as in games, psychological games that media is playing, outside of that, your backyard is there for a reason. Some people in Africa or some people in some very huge urban area don't have access to this kind of vegetation, for example. Like, appreciate the fact that there's a backyard behind your house and go literally be with that life. Go literally be with plant life. This sounds hilarious, but because your sensitivity grows, that's where your intuition can play a greater part in your life. So be aware of that. You develop your relationship with your intuition, and for you to even have one, you develop all relationships that are defining who you are. Define yourself well and understand that it has an influence, because the definitions are constantly changing. This generation, people are taking selfies. Next generation, they'll be taking pictures of a different self. Hopefully this self will eventually go into a sense of of a higher self, where the cool thing to do is for people to really recognize what they are as existence, as intelligence, as a being. Literally, if that became cool and that became a viral thing, and if my voice echoed much longer than any other feelings, that this idea shouldn't spread. I am simply saying, in your appreciation of the moment, you will find the purest self-presented moments, because not everyone is having a very honest moment in their life. If you could visualize the whole planet experiencing honest moments and more honest moments, literally we will become wise through just our culture. We will literally become aware of the value of nature. If you become aware of the value of nature, you utilize that technology. You see, trees can't talk, but you can communicate with them in ways that expand the human ability, cleanse the human ability. You take a very huge thief or someone who's done criminal activity and you just put them in a forest for a couple of days, and assuming they were fed somehow, right? You would see that the criminal person could not be an animal that much. The criminal person would understand that life is not so hard. People who do crime think life is so hard they have to break it. And what I'm talking about is be of a wiser ground. Literally, think about where your nature is, how the trees in your backyard came to be, and how there were once trees before, like much before we were born. Nature is very valuable. If we learn to utilize the energetic presences and I guess material presentation of what a tree is, outside of that, a tree has different bodies of energy in my view. In other words, a tree shows us literally based on light, how much we can see the light wavelength, what it has, but what it is doing as a being is much different in my view. In regards to energetic movement, there's some energetic movements that trees are doing that humanity is not acknowledging consciously enough to utilize as a technology. There are beings in just bodies that are simply, just less active at their stage of evolution. You see, if you believe in a soul, it's not that an object doesn't have a soul and you have a soul, for example. It's not that kind of story. Everything is alive. Everything. And sometimes it's not the object, it is not the construction. Because let me say, if you think everything is alive and you look at a bench and you think of this idea, no, a bench is not alive. Literally what is keeping that idea alive is what is alive. And this is simply, see, you need to understand all that can be said right now, and all that I'm even saying is let nature show you where it has come from. Literally go check and try to perceive the history of our planet by looking at nature. And once you go look at nature, you realize that the land begins to speak to you, and you begin to understand and adjust your intuitive, I guess, harmony to. In other words, it is okay to swim in deep waters, and you must really try to rediscover nature for yourself, and only with yourself, with no one else. Your own individual experience as a person, sometimes group, I guess camping can be done, that's good, but understand it's supposed to be a very silent, isolated experience, because you need to understand that if you're only experiencing huge shifts of like social, I guess emotional contact, that could make sense. In other words, how you feel when you are in society and when you're alone, that difference, right? If you are in a state where you are, in a sense, part of a system, pressured to exist, literally you want that much pressure in your life to exist, then you need to really perceive how natural your eyes are closing compared to that natural harmony in how the night changes into day and the day changes into night, as if we're inside another eye. Therefore, through your own self-reflective allowance to perceive nature, you need to allow yourself to perceive nature. That's a very big key, by the way, because some people might want to do something, but in the back of their mind, they haven't allowed themselves to do it. So, see if you have any ideas about nature that is making it something you shouldn't look at. Really promote nature, guys. You're not understanding. It's as if like if the trees could talk, they're censoring us from them, or if that was a healthy environment, they're trying to censor us. They're trying to mentally push us away from taking care of the planet's nature. It's as if that's what is happening with culture. Our culture is losing its mind because the way it's expressing itself with its tensions and speeds is not as harmonious as with the earth, as with, nature, I guess. Forests and backyards. Therefore, let part of your inspiration always be to take care of nature. And at the same time, really go and explore nature for yourself. Feel it out. I mean, you don't need to think about it. You don't need to think about judging it or having a social curfew, for example, of what you did this week. It's not something like that. It's your experience. Go sit down. Go touch a tree, and literally feel things out. And tell me that you're at the same awareness. Nature is healthy in a world built on artificial chemicals. Nature is healthy. Do not follow the sadness of others into a sadder place. With your awareness, regardless of all noise, be very at peace with existence. I hope through this period of me speaking, you really understand how I could talk as much as I want about nature and tell you how good it is, but when you go see nature, those experiences, those moments will speak for themselves. I'm just some guy who's saying, like, let's check out the trees one more time before we think, we've figured out what to do in our society, And hopefully, as always, blessings ahead.